Oi! Yes! What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday night. It's after the Contender Series. I've got my Paloma ready. We got a lot of work to do, everybody. It's UFC San Diego this Saturday. Going to be headlined by Marlon Vera against Dominic Cruz. Going to be a very interesting bantamweight 5-round main event here. We got 12 other fights on this card to discuss. And we've got to put in the work so we can figure out ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks on this card. Quick little recap of last week. Up 3.18 units tracked for me. The ass shaving of the week was Jamal Hill. It came through. It was actually a pretty easy week to pick an ass shaving of the week because everybody that won inside the distance. So all you had to do was pick a winner and you were going to look all right. But Jamal got the job done against a really tough veteran opponent there. So congratulations, Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill, for carrying the Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week torch. Our greasy 4-leg parlay turned into a greasy 3-leg parlay after Ariane and Lipski had to drop out of the fight. And then that did not cash, unfortunately. 2 out of the 3 legs did cash. The 3rd leg was Brogan Walker by decision, and she didn't even win a second of that fight. So that was rough. That was a bad call by me. My apologies there. But on the track bets, we did really well. We had 1.5 units on the Brian Battle Takashi Sato fight doesn't go to decision at plus 125. That cashed. We had 1.5 units on the Spivak Sakai fight doesn't go to decision at minus 150. That cashed. We had 1 unit on the Muhammad Usman money line at plus 200. That cashed. The bets that didn't cash were 1 unit on Miranda Danger Granger against Corey McKenna. That didn't even come close to cashing. Corey McKenna looked absolutely fantastic, grappled, brought a good game plan that suited what she does well. The game plan I expected to see her bring and execute against Elise Reed, but she didn't. So, yeah, Corey McKenna really got the job done, made us look bad on that bet. But then we also had Jeff Neal by decision at a quarter unit at plus 420, I think. I was already counting my money in the 3rd round on that one. And then he wound up being the first person to ever finish Vicente Luque in the UFC, which is amazing. And I think we missed it out. I had a couple of small round sprinkles on the Ghost Pepper, 1st and 2nd round, 1/10 of a unit at plus 3,500 and plus 4,000. Just trying to hit a home run there with a small bet. Didn't work out. But yeah, 3.18 units up tracked last week. So really happy about that. And then before we get into the chat and talk to everybody in the chat, I have an announcement to make. I started a Patreon today. There's been a lot of requests for me to make the prop template that is seen in Probability on the MMA Engine YouTube channel available to the public. So I've created a Patreon with 2 tiers. The first tier is going to be $5 a month. And what that's going to give you access to is it's just an easy way to support me for a very affordable option. You'll get the stats that I've always been giving out for free. Those won't be given out for free anymore until Tuesday night for Just the Tip. So the link to the stats that we look at every week on Just the Tip, every week on Stat Diggers, will be available for free whether you join the Patreon or not on Tuesday night in the description of this video. However, if you want to receive them when I'm usually finished with them, which would be like 5 days before, you can join that Patreon. You'll get access to the stats, to the matchup stats, the advanced stats for all the fighters on the card, all my tracked bets. And that's a really good way to support me if you want to support the channel here, if you want to support the content that I create. I would really appreciate if you would sign up for that. And if you want access to the prop template, and if I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see the new and improved prop template here, where we've got the violence bets on the left side of the screen, we've got the non-violence bets on the right side of the screen. And we've got fight starts round 2, fight starts round 3, the over 0.5, 1.5, and 2.5. The fight goes to decision. We've got the lines in there, the implied probabilities of those lines. And then, well, we'll give you a better one where we actually have 2 fighters that have fights here. And we can see here that, we have the line It converts it to an implied probability. It compares the implied probability of the line to the long-term divisional finish rate. It compares the fighter finish rates versus the implied probability of the line. And it compares the fighter finish rates to the long-term divisional finish rate benchmark. So it gives us a bunch of nice little analytics there. It turns the betting line into an implied probability. And then it gives us the overall finish rates of both fighters in the UFC and overall. And it gives us the decision numbers as well, and gives you just a really good analytics base in order to make time prop bets, whether they're overs or whether they're unders. And all these analytics were compiled by me. These are the 3-round analytics here. This is all included with the prop template. And you can see from all the way from women's strawweight all the way up to men's heavyweight, how many fights there have been since 2013, how many have not went to decision, how many have went to decision, what the percentages of those are, and then all the other analytics. We also have that for all the 5-round fights by division as well. And then the individual fights on the card, when the lines update, they will be put in here. And you can look at the analytics for the bets and determine whether the bets that you like and are leaning towards are overpriced, priced right, or underpriced. And basically, that's how you kind of determine what your unit size on those bets are going to be. If they're overpriced and you like it and you still want some action on the fight, make a small bet. If it's way underpriced and you like that bet, make a big bet, because you know you're getting that analytical edge when you have all these statistics at your fingerprints. So for $20 a month on my Patreon, you'll get access to this prop template, which I think is one of the best analytical tools that's out there right now for UFC time prop betting. I don't know if anybody's doing anything like this. The link to the Patreon is in the description of this video, as is the link to the free stats, which we will see here today for all 13 fights on the UFC San Diego card. So if you want to support your Uncle Weezy, if you want to support the channel, the content that I create, feel free to go over there to the Patreon and sign up for the $5 basic tier, or if you want all those analytics in the prop template at your fingertips, the $20 option. And I appreciate everybody that watches the channel, whether you support or not. Thank you for coming to Just the Tip. Thank you for watching the content, just being an MMA fan like the rest of us here. It's an appreciation of mine to be able to speak to you every week, to be able to provide content for you, my audience. So thank you for listening to that. Thank you for the pitch for the Patreon. If you want to go and sign up to that, the link is in the description of this video. But what's going on with you guys here? It's Tuesday night. We got to figure out how to make some money on this card. We got my guy Brandon, the MMA propaholic, first one in the room, saying, let's go. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you in here, my man. We got David Milks in the room saying, oi, I need to make enough money Saturday to get Laura Sanko to divorce her husband and marry me. That could be expensive, so let's find some gems this week. We're going to really need to find some really big gems in order to make that happen, David, because I think she's a happily married woman. And it's going to probably take a lot of money to break up that marriage. But, you know, I wish you luck. And if we can find those spots and all profit from them, we could take that money that we make this week and use it to achieve our individual goals, whether it be Laura Sanko getting her to divorce her husband or whatever your individual goals are. Feel free to achieve those goals with the money that we make betting on the UFC when we get these good reads. My guy, Patrick, Addicted to Combat, in the room. If you haven't checked out this man's YouTube channel, please do. Fantastic UFC analysis and betting analysis on this channel. Saying another week of profit incoming. What up, Unc? What's up, dude? Daz Files saying, I'm on phone. Let's go. Daz Files, another supporter of the channel. Very much appreciate you, brother. Victor DeJesus in the room saying, oi, yes, let's stack them flapjacks. Let's get it. NCKM saying, so how real is the Bo Nickel hype? Dude, I'll tell you something, man. I said it before anybody. I predicted that Bo Nickel was going to win his fight tonight. So you heard it here first. That's why you come to this channel, to get that kind of analysis that you're really not going to get anywhere else. I don't know anybody else that was on Bo Nickel this week, except for your Uncle Weezy. So let me do my victory lap. Big ups, Bo Nickel. We got Sicky Does MMA saying, let's go. What's up, Sicky? Good to see you in here. Justin Villegas saying, now I know Black Adam's pain. The gambling gods have took advantage of me too long. I will reap havoc on the gambling gods. Let's get it. Let's get them back for every bet that they screwed us out of. If I had a nickel every time someone asked that Bo questions. Andy G saying, oh, yes, this card is greasier than a slice of gas station pizza. Let's get it, Unc. Yeah, it is, man. But there's some fun fights on this card. Travis M saying, oh, you know what time it is? Yes. Dan Goldstein saying, good evening, gentlemen. Eric Silva may look like Luis Pena, nice brother, but that man can fight. Treated that small Russian like a stepchild. Nice, man. We got my guy, Uncle Brady, in the room. DFS by the numbers saying, oh, we got Papa Chuck saying, oh, we got Dan Goldstein in the room. Keep it cool saying, oh, did you see Bo Nickel shaving that ass like a lawnmower? I did not see it. I was preparing for the show. So much work to do to get ready for Just the Tip every week. So what I do is I always save the Contender Series for after I'm done with Just the Tip. Once Just the Tip is over tonight, I'm going to put timestamps on this video so that's ready for you guys. And then from there, I'm probably going to make a video for the Patreon, taking people through the individual cells on the prop template and how to best make use of that information that's in there. And then from there, I'm going to be watching Dana White's Contender Series and checking out all these fighters fighting for their contracts, which is always so much fun to watch. The Dab Father is in the room saying, what up? We got my guy Jazz saying, what's up, Weezy? Great to see you stack them like flapjacks last week, and hopefully the momentum keeps up this Saturday. Let's get it, man. Let's go, says Tristan Sherhouse. Lucas Brzeski is my underdog pick. Excited to see if you're on Buday or not. I do have a strong opinion on that fight, Tristan. JSJ saying, what's going on with Witt Quinlan? Don't know, man. Don't know. But Quinlan, they found trace amounts of a banned substance that was actually below what would be considered the illegal limit. But because they found it in his system, and that particular substance that they found in his system is banned in Nevada, but not in California. They moved the fight to California. Now, when we go on the UFC stats website here, we do not see the Witt Quinlan fight yet. So I don't know if it's even official yet. They did make the Cachoeira Lipski fight official, which was not on the UFC's website like about 2 days ago. So I don't know what's going on with that fight, but we are going to cover it tonight as if it's happening. Dan Goldstein saying the UFC needed another redhead since the death of Sam Alvey in front of his offspring. Enter Bo Nickel. We got Prince of Mischief saying, oh, yes, I can't believe Dana screwed Bo Nickel like that. Alex Ramirez with the taking notes. We got Papa Chuck saying, totally, Carpenter gets a contract and Bo doesn't. We got Justin Viega saying, damn, Weezy went and got him a Lamborghini and need the extra dono. Yeah, dude, I do not have a Lamborghini. I'm 6'2", about 240 pounds, so I'm not fitting in a Lamborghini. But you know who does have a Lamborghini? It's my man Marshawn Lynch, and we need to free him. Evidently, he's had another DUI. This is clearly a setup by the cops. Free Marshawn Lynch, my second favorite football player of all time behind Walter Payton, Sweetness, the Chicago great. But Marshawn Lynch, one of the great running backs of all time, probably completely trumped up charges of a DUI here. And let's get Marshawn Lynch out of jail. Free Marshawn Lynch. And then we've got, let's see here. What do we got here? Alex Ramirez saying Quinlan juicing. Yes, sir. NCKM saying hustle wheeze. Nick M saying hell yeah, brother. Oh, UFC Egg saying, oh yes, what's cracking? Addicted to Combat saying the new spreadsheet's looking fresh. This has got to be the best value Patreon on the market. I appreciate that, man. And I mean, I spent so much time updating this thing, accumulating all the analytics so that every possible time prop bet that you can make in a 3 or a 5 round fight will have the two fighters' statistics over or under that benchmark. It will have the long-term benchmark for the division, and it will have the implied probabilities of the line weighed against those two benchmarks. So I just don't know anybody that's doing anything like this, that's providing these kind of analytics. So if you're a serious UFC gambler, $20 a month is an extremely cheap price for the kind of work that I put in to that prop template. I appreciate you, Patrick. Press the like button, says my guy, the General. Anyone who bet Brogan last week has zero credibility this week. LOL. Well, I bet Brogan last week as one of my 4 legs in the greasy 4-leg parlay. Did not work out for me, but I still think that I have credibility, whether you think so or not. Prince of Mischief 2225 says ass shaving prediction: Lupita Godinez. Noted, my friend. Noted. Kevin saying DWCS, Bellator, PFL, UFC, lots of MMA. Let's go. Dope Space Cowboy saying Weezy is the Mac of the flapjack stack. You got that right, baby. That deserves a little sip off the Paloma right there. Wait, that deserves another sip off the Paloma right there. The Mac of the flapjack stack, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put a banner up that says that, actually, because now that we know we have to free Marshawn Lynch, maybe I can get that off the screen and I can say the Mac of the flapjack stack. Uncle Weezy. Bam. Show it. Let's go. Dope Space Cowboy, thank you for checking in, brother. Always good to see you in here. We have got my guy Chris Colanzis in the room saying best MMA analyst in the business, your Uncle Hefner. That's right, man. We even got the finery on tonight. And ring a ding ding. My guy David Eldon with the $5 donation saying, oi, love this show. Shout out to John Idimoto and Buddy. Let's go. Thank you for donating to the show, David. Much, much appreciation to you, brother. And Home Wrecking Knee Knocker saying, let's go. Max bet TJ Brown, Dante O'Mays, Mason Jones, and why not throw Brogan Walker into parlay while we're at it? Ha! Papa Chuck saying, keep it cool. Fun fact, I was run over by a lawnmower as a child. And to answer your question, I still have my penis and balls intact. Hashtag lawnmower safety. And that is something, I have my green ribbon that I wear out, which is the lawnmower safety ribbon for people who have been injured by horrific lawnmower accidents. There is not enough awareness that we could give to this cause. Papa Chuck, let's just pray that you continue to spend the rest of your life never being run over by a lawnmower again. Good to see you in here, brother. We got Andy G saying, treat the like button like Nickel treated the homeless guy he fought on Icon FC and smash it. Let's go. DFS by the number saying, free Marshawn Lynch. We got to get him out of jail, folks. I mean, I think he already posted bail and is out of jail, but if he isn't, we got to get him out of there. Free this man. Andy G saying Marshawn Lynch is the fan of the Palomos. He might be, man. Sicky Does MMA says, why would they not give Bo a contract? He's only 2-0. Dude has destroyed these cans, and Alex Pereira, who's 6-1, is fighting for a belt. Standards. Yeah, dude, I agree with you there, man. Justin saying, well, if we get an Uncle Weezy Funko Pops by Christmas with that beautiful robe and mini drink, that's right, my man. I appreciate you, Justin. My guy Nathan saying Loopy Vera parlay, let's get it, is the lock. We got Alex Ramirez, free Marshawn Lynch. Let's get it, man. We got Brian saying Weezy fire and oi. And we got the Alex Ramirez with the flame and the oi. And we got Lou Betya saying, how many people on this card would Bo Nickel beat? I don't know, man, but that's going to be, we're going to be finding out soon enough. Hellion saying, what up, Punk? President Camacho, the president in the future. Definitely one of the best presidents that this country will ever see in the future. Oi, yes. Who's your favorite comedian? That would be current day comedian would be Bill Burr. And when I was a young man, I was a big fan of Dennis Miller. Brian saying, great, SMH, let's go. We got Alex Ramirez there. We got Dan Goldstein saying, Lou, to be TBE. Answer is yes. Free Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch bail was brought to you by Skittles. Yes, it was. Skittles, taste the freedom. Let's taste the stats. Let's get into it, you guys. We got a lot of work to do. We got 13 fights to break down here. And we're going to start off with a fight that we talked about last week already. So I'm going to kind of go over this one quickly here. Lipski, 5 years younger and 2 inches of reach here. She's also got 6 more fights than Priscila Cachoeira, almost 100 more minutes in the pro cage compared to Priscila. And let me get the banner up, you guys, here, as we've got Lipski as a minus 190 favorite right here. And when I parlayed Lipski last week, I got her at minus 170, and I think you could have even gotten her around minus 160 earlier last week. So this line is running, and it's getting a little bit carried away, in my opinion, due to the narrative issues of Lipski having a really hard time making weight just a few days ago. This fight's being moved up to 135 pounds, so that's very important. Now, we know that Lipski's a little bit bigger. She's got a little more experience as a pro, 2.5 more years as a pro here, 85 more minutes in the pro cage. They both have 7 fights, but it's Lipski with about 10 more minutes in the UFC cage. Now, Lipski's the better finisher overall, 43% by knockout, 21% by sub. While it's all knockouts for Cachoeira, we know Cachoeira is more of a pure striker who doesn't grapple much, and probably the easiest way to win minutes against Priscila Cachoeira is just to take her down, lay on top of her, because she has a very difficult time getting up, and she doesn't have much in the way of submission attempts off of her back. Lipski's been finished in 3 of her 7 losses, all by knockout, and Priscila Cachoeira has been finishing 2 of her 4 losses, both of them by submission. Both of these ladies absorb a lot more significant strikes than they land. They call Priscila Cachoeira Priscila Catch a Beating because she absorbs almost 8 significant strikes a minute while only landing 4.46. But both of these ladies have power. Lipski's landing a knockdown over 1% of the significant strikes that she's landing, and it's a 0.32% of the significant strikes that Cachoeira lands result in a knockdown. So 3 knockdowns in 7 fights for Lipski, 1 knockdown in 7 fights for Cachoeira. Striking defense, almost 52% for Lipski, less than 46% for Cachoeira. She does block punches with her face, and she's been knocked down once. Neither one of these ladies getting a lot of takedowns here, but here's the difference. 1 takedown for Cachoeira, 1 for Lipski, but look at the control time for her. It's Cachoeira who loses a ton of minutes on the ground, you guys. 3% control time for, 30% control time against. So she's not efficient on the ground. For every 10 seconds she's on the ground, she's losing 9 of them. On the cage or on the ground, I should say. So Lipski has done a really nice job here in that she's only attempted 5 takedowns, but her opponents have attempted 18. Lipski has 1 takedown, her opponents have 8. Yet her opponents are only out-controlling her 31% to 22.5%. So even though she's only 55% takedown defense and she's only 20% on her takedowns, she's more efficient in the grappling exchanges than Priscila Cachoeira has been thus far. And we do know that Lipski's been training at ATT. She's getting a lot more work on that wrestling of hers, and we did see her start to mix in the grappling successfully against Mandy Bohm, and it worked out beautifully for her in that fight. But Lipski's wins are against very inexperienced competition, and Priscila Cachoeira's wins are against sub 500 competition. So neither one of these ladies is knocking the cover off the ball in terms of the level of competition that they're fighting. But I think Lipski will have the grappling advantage. I think on the feet, Lipski's the cleaner, more technical striker, and she's shown more power actually at the UFC level than Cachoeira has. So I got to pick Lipski here. The problem is she still feeling the effects from this weight cut, this disaster that happened last week that caused this fight to have to be moved 1 week down the road? It's up at 135 pounds. If Lipski plans to wrestle, that might work in her advantage because she won't have to cut as much weight and might have an easier time pushing a grappling heavy game plan. But I still got to go with Lipski to win this fight. When we look at the prop template, which is now available for premium users of the Uncle Weezy Patreon, link in description of the video, we see that the fight doesn't go to decision sitting at plus 125, the under 2.5 sitting at plus 140. If we compare the divisional finish rates for fight doesn't go and under 2.5 and the implied probabilities of these lines, we see we're overpaying by about 9.5% and 13%. But when we compare the fighter finish rates to the implied probabilities of the line, we're getting a break. And when we compare the fighter finish rates to the divisional finish rate, we're also getting a break there. So these ladies are finishing at a higher rate than the 135-pound women are finishing at. And they're also finishing at a higher rate than the implied probabilities of the line. So if you're into violence here, I think it's not a bad bet because of the stylistic matchup, because both of these ladies have so much power, but you are overpaying by about 9.5% and 13% when you compare the implied probabilities of those lines to the long-term benchmarks for the division. But the pick is going to be Ariane Lipski, and I'm going to actually pick her to win by decision here. That's going to be the pick for this one. The next fight, you guys, is going to be the Jason Witt versus Josh Quinlan fight. Now, we just broke this fight down last week here already, and here's the story. Quinlan, in his pre-competition urine sample, they found trace amounts of a testosterone metabolite that is not supposed to be there. Now, Quinlan is just coming off of a 9-month suspension for pissing hot for drostelazone, which is a competition steroid. So he got caught cheating. And, you know, when you watch this guy's earlier fights, he just has the look of somebody, like the way he breathes before a fight is somebody, it's like, looks like he's roid raging. And I mean, it's not controversial for me to say this. He's been caught cheating. So Quinlan's a cheater, and they actually moved this fight from Nevada to California so that the substance he got caught cheating with would be legal for him to use there. So this is very troublesome. You know, I mean, clearly this guy's already been caught cheating, and now it looks like he's trying to cheat again. And he's facing a guy in Jason Witt who's known for not having durability. But the problem with betting Quinlan in this spot is you're basically admitting to yourself that if he doesn't knock him out, you're going to probably lose this fight, because Jason Witt is getting a ton of takedowns. He's got 14 takedowns in 5 fights. He's averaging 6.89 takedowns per 15 minutes here. And Quinlan only has 6 professional fights and has not even fought close to the level of competition that Jason Witt has fought. So Quinlan's got to land a big shot here. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. You've got in Jason Witt one of the least durable, most chinny guys statistically and just looking at it that you can find in this. And there's another one on this card too. Charlie Ontiveros is another guy who is not durable at all. But we're talking about Witt here, and Witt has 8 professional losses, and they have all been inside the distance. 6 of them by knockout, 2 of them by submission. So he's never lost a fight that went to decision, which means that he's not durable. But Jason Witt has a 58% finish rate, which means 42% of his 19 professional wins are by decision. So with Quinlan, you've got a guy who's won 100% of his fights inside the distance. He's a moment winner. And he's a moment winner against low-level regional scene competition. So I think it would just be extremely irresponsible to lay minus 260 here on a cheater who is off the gas now. You're paying minus 250. Quinlan is at a grappling deficiency. He is at a strength of schedule deficiency. He is at a experience deficiency. And if we look at the tail of the tape here, Quinlan's 29, Witt's 35. Quinlan's got 2 inches of height and 2 inches of reach. So it's not like he's this gigantic dude either. He's got the size advantage. He's got the power advantage in the striking. But if Jason Witt wants to wrestle this dude, he could have success doing that, and he could push that pace for a full 15 minutes. And we've seen Josh Quinlan have to get to the 3rd round to get knockouts in the past. So if Jason Witt can find success in the grappling, find success in the wrestling, which is something that we've seen him do over and over and over again, and we've never seen Josh Quinlan face anybody with the wrestling prowess of Jason Witt, anybody with the experience that Jason Witt has, anybody that's fought the level of competition that Jason Witt has. So it's just, in my opinion, extremely irresponsible to lay minus 250 on Josh Quinlan, who, you know, is as far as we know, somewhat one-dimensional, a power striker, you know, who's really kind of looking to finish fights, and he's got all finishes out of all 6 fights that he's been in. So interested to see how he does now that he's being tested more rigorously for steroids. He's already been caught once, and he almost got caught again. So it's going to be interesting to see how Quinlan deals with being not on the gas here. And how does he deal with being with somebody that's much more experienced? It's a much better wrestler that's going to push that pace and realizes that he can't strike with this guy because the off switch is too easy to find for Jason Witt. So I do have a small bet on this fight. I just bet a quarter unit at plus 450 on Jason Witt by decision. Quinlan absolutely could knock this dude out, and it would be the least surprising thing in the world if he did, because we know that Jason Witt is just not that durable. But I've got to trust in what I know about Jason Witt, and what that is that he's fought the better brand competition. He's an excellent minute winner in the grappling exchanges, and he's fought so many more fights. And he's been getting tested by USADA now for the last 3-4 years and passing all these tests. So we know that he's not on the gas. So I'm going to go with the experience of Witt here. I'm going to pick him to win by decision, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm making a small bet to that effect. The next fight is going to be Youssef Zalal making his return after 6 fights in the UFC, winning his first 3, losing his next 3. All these fights taking place at 145. Youssef Zalal has now taken over a year off and is moving down to 135 pounds. He will be fighting Blackshear. Both of these guys are babies. 27 for Blackshear, 25 for Youssef Zalal. They're the same height, half-inch reach advantage for Blackshear. I do believe that Blackshear is an orthodox fighter. Zalal switches stances. Jackson Wink for Blackshear. Factory X for Youssef Zalal. So we can see that the experience numbers are very similar here. Blackshear, 1 more fight, about 25 more minutes in the pro cage, and about a year and a half more as a pro. But it's Zalal with 6 fights at the UFC level, 90 minutes in the UFC cage. So he's got a significant UFC experience advantage here. Blackshear with a 75% finish rate and 12 pro wins. Youssef Zalal with a 70% finish rate and 10 pro wins. And in these guys, 9 combined pro losses. Neither one of them has ever been finished. So that immediately just gets me thinking, okay, well, I gotta see where the fight goes to decision on the over 2.5 and the over 1.5 are here, because those are potential parlay pieces or straight bets. When it comes to the striking, Zalal is looking good with the numbers that he has here. He's throwing as much volume as his opponents. He's landing about 0.75 more significant strikes per minute than his opponents do. Good accuracy. He does have a knockdown, and he's showing almost 65% striking defense. And Blackshear, from what I've seen from him, he's got nice striking. He keeps it very basic. He bounds in and out. He's light on his feet. He's up on his toes, and he's throwing 1-2s down the middle. Blackshear is somebody who has won way more fights via submission, as we can see down here. 67% of his pro wins by submission, only 8% by knockout. But on the regional scene footage that I've seen from Blackshear, he's not really out there trying to wrestle people that much. If the fight goes into the grappling exchanges, he's happy that it's there, and he will work for top control and start looking for submissions. But if not, he's happy to strike and then use his striking to either hurt you and then get it down to the grappling, or to hurt you and get you to shoot, and then to work to get to those grappling exchanges where he clearly seems to be the most comfortable, even though he doesn't seem to chase the grappling as much as you would expect somebody that seems to be as comfortable in the grappling as Blackshear is. But Blackshear's taking this fight on short notice. Youssef Zalal's got that big experience advantage at the UFC level here, but this is a spot where Zalal's sitting at minus 125. He's a slight favorite, but we haven't seen him in a while, and he is on a 3-fight losing streak, but it's a very good competition. And with Blackshear being a good grappler, I think it's important to go back and watch the Ilya Topuria fight against Youssef Zalal. If you think that Blackshear is going to submit Youssef Zalal, go watch Topuria. Go watch how many bad spots Topuria got Zalal into, and then tell me if you think Blackshear is going to be finishing this guy on short notice. I don't think so. Zalal's takedown defense, though, leaves a lot to be desired for me. He's attempted 47 takedowns in 6 fights, only gotten 14 of them, so that's less than 30%. He's averaging 2.33 per 15 minutes, 1.17 submission attempts, and he's out-controlling his opponents 35% to 23%. So Zalal's been a guy who's spent, about 58% of his UFC cage time of 90 minutes in control time positions for or against. So he is going to be taking fights to where Damon seems to thrive the most, where he gets the most wins, which is in those grappling exchanges. So in my opinion, Zalal will probably be the better striker. Zalal will be comfortable in the grappling exchanges here with Damon Blackshear. The experience numbers are close, but the UFC experience numbers really aren't. And then the finish stats are good for both guys. I'm looking for a Youssef Zalal win by decision here, but I think that these guys are actually very well matched. And everything that I've seen from Blackshear on the regional scene tells me that this guy probably belongs here. He's well-rounded. He's got excellent conditioning. He's finishing fights. And the guys that he's losing to are legit guys. If we go here to the Tapology profile for Damon, we're going to see losses to Danny Sabatello, to Pat Sabatini. There's the Sabatello losses in 2021, the Sabatini loss in 2018, Chris Montino back in 2018, and then somebody named Keith Richardson who had 25 professional fights at the time that he fought him when he only had 4 professional fights. He's got a regional scene win over a UFC veteran, Ariane Cruz, via rear naked choke in the 4th round. See, he gets a lot of finishes in the 2nd round here. And then a lot of amateur fights here, too. One against Tony Gravely, another against Tony Gravely. So this guy Blackshear has been around the block for a minute here. He is experienced, and he has fought UFC-level competition. But he's taken it on short notice. Zalal used to fighting 145-pounders. He'll be fighting a 135er here in Blackshear. Really need to see Youssef Zalal on the scales. But if I do see Zalal on the scales look good on Friday, and he's still sitting here around minus 120, I might consider a bet on him. I think he's live to win in this spot. So the pick is going to be Youssef Zalal by decision here. Next fight, Angela Hill against Loopy Godinez. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do Ode Osbourne against Tyson Nam. I'm going on the official UFC stats order right now, which I don't know how official it is, but they've got some weird orders here. They got the co-main event is Yari Gui versus Yari Gi, I should say, versus Lucindo. But yeah, here we go. Ode Osbourne versus Tyson Nam. Ode Osbourne minus 245, Tyson Nam plus 210. The fight doesn't go to decision, juice up to minus 163 here for a flyweight fight. As we can see here, we've got Tyson Nam is 38 years old. Both of these guys are 5'7", and it's going to be Osbourne who has a 5-inch reach advantage. He's a southpaw while Nam is orthodox. It's Nam who's got 33 professional fights to Osbourne's 16, so a huge experience advantage here for Tyson Nam. If you look at the average fight time, Osbourne only 5 minutes of average fight time per fight, while it's 11.7 for Nam. So just a ton of experience here for Tyson Nam, almost 400 minutes in the pro cage, while we got Ode with 79. So over 300 more minutes in the pro cage for Tyson Nam. UFC experience numbers are comparable. More minutes for Nam, more fights for Osbourne. Both of these guys are finishers. 81% finish rate for Osbourne, 65% finish rate for Nam. Nam is just getting knockouts, really, while Osbourne is an equal opportunity finisher with almost as many wins by sub as he has by knockout. And then it's been Tyson Nam who's only been finished in 3 of 12 pro losses, and it's been a long time since he's been finished. Last guy to finish him was Marlon Moraes on the regional scene. And Ode Osbourne has been finished in 3 of his 4 pro losses and in both of his UFC losses. Now, when it comes to the striking here, both guys are very dangerous and very powerful. We can see 1.05 knockdowns per 15 minutes for Osbourne, 0.59 for Nam. And neither one of these guys is attempting a lot of takedowns. 4 takedown attempts in 5 fights for Nam, 8 takedown attempts for Ode Osbourne in only 6 fights. So I anticipate this fight largely taking place on the feet here. And if it does, two guys with this much power that are landing a knockdown on over 1% of the significant strikes that they're landing leads me to believe that this fight probably does end inside the distance. But we also have to keep in mind when we're making violence bets on men's flyweight fights that they're only finishing about 40% of the time. And sometimes when you have to pay up with something like almost a 62, 63% implied probability, you have to keep that in mind, that that's what the division rate finish rate is. It's only 40%. So you don't want to get caught paying too much over those long-term benchmarks unless the fighter statistics lead you to believe that there's almost no way that the fight doesn't go the other way. So, but yeah, this is going to be a violent fight here. You see Nam is absorbing a lot more strikes than he's landing, and his opponents are out throwing him quite a bit. While Osbourne throws more volume than his opponents do, but Osbourne showing only a 42.5% striking defense, while Nam much more responsible at 64% striking defense. So both of these guys have power. The problem is that Osbourne's got a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's got an 8-year youth advantage on Tyson Nam. I think that's why Ode Osbourne is that big of a favorite here. There's a couple of like opponents here. They both shaved Zaruk Adashev's ass, and they both shaved Jerome Rivera's ass. So we got the ass shaving here over Rivera was by knockout. The ass shaving by Adashev was by knockout. And then here you see Nam shaving ass by knockout, shaving ass by knockout. It just took Tyson Nam a little bit longer to dispose of Jerome Rivera than it did Ode Osbourne. If we look other than that on the strength of schedule here, it's Nam with the better ratio and more total fights. He's beating more experienced competition, but they're both beating guys with losing records on the aggregate. The thing about Nam here is I think he's very dangerous, just like Osbourne is obviously very dangerous. In the stand-up, I think that either one of these guys can land the big shot, but here's the big thing. If you're looking for a reason to go plus money on Tyson Nam here, here's your reason. 64% striking defense for Nam, 42% striking defense for Ode Osbourne. Which one of these guys is the first one to land a big shot? I think it's Tyson Nam. I don't think we can count on Ode Osbourne to wrestle effectively. He's attempted 8 takedowns in his 6 fights, but look at that control time for him. It's like 2%. So he's not using his wrestling to win minutes here. And he's not really a minute winner on the feet either. He's a moment winner, just like Nam is, because he's actually absorbing more significant strikes than he lands. So both these guys absorb more than they land, but it's Osbourne who throws more volume than Tyson Nam does. Excuse me. Okay, so I think the Nam plus money is very interesting here. I think Nam by knockout is very interesting here for a big plus money bet. I'm going to pick Ode Osbourne to win the fight just because he's younger, just because he's longer, because he's the southpaw, and because I think he's the much more dangerous submission grappler, and that he has the option to wrestle if he wants to do it. I think all those things is why Ode Osbourne's minus 245 here, but I am not laying minus 245 against somebody as experienced and as dangerous in the same areas where Ode's dangerous, Tyson's dangerous. So I think it's just too much to lay. I think the line is too wide. The pick is going to be Ode Osbourne, and I think that he probably wins it by decision if he does, because Nam's been so durable. But I would not be surprised to see Tyson Nam getting a finish inside the distance here, getting a knockout. But I'm going to pick Ode Osbourne to win the fight by decision. Next fight is going to be Gabriel Benitez against the American bad boy, born on the 4th of July. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charlie Ontiveros. This is going to be such a fun fight to watch. 2 strikers who throw with a ton of power, very dynamic on the feet, big kicks from both guys. Somebody's getting slept early in this fight. This is a great one. Let's see what you guys are doing here in the chat here before we move on, though. What are Ode's wrestling stats in the last couple of fights? Feel like that's a recent addition. Yeah, he actually is starting to wrestle a little bit more, and we know that Ode Osbourne has a wrestling background. You know, he was wrestling in college. He's a good wrestler. It's just he's so big for the weight class, and he's got so much power that we haven't had to see him use it much. And ring a ding ding, you guys. Keep it cool. Keeping the lights on in Uncle Weezy's studio with a $5 donation saying, nephew, keep it's 1-800 gambler night of the I'm sorry. Nephew, keep it's 1-800 fight of the night, brought to you by Weezy's Light Bill. Weezy's Light Bill, lights on for him, lights out for the bookies. I love it, my man. Thank you so much for the donation to the channel. It is much appreciated. Let's see here. We got Ice Viking saying, bless you, Uncle Sneezy. We appreciate you, man. Nom, 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 nom. Hey, goodbye. He will lose and see ya. Yeah, man, we'll have to see, man, because this is going to be an interesting fight. I could see Nam landing a big shot. And when you've only got 42% striking defense, it's definitely not the kind of thing that we love when we're going up against somebody with the kind of power that Tyson Nam has. So I think it's kind of irresponsible to lay that on Ode Osbourne here, but I see why people are picking him to win this fight. But Gabriel Benitez is a big favorite here at -360. The American Bad Boy +285. The fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at -365, almost an 80% implied probability. So we can see that Ontiveros is the younger man and the much bigger man here. He's 6 inches taller, going to have a 7-inch reach advantage, and he's a switch stance fighter fighting against the southpaw and Benitez. It's War Training Center for Ontiveros. It's American Kickboxing Academy for Benitez, who is fighting out of the happiest place on earth, Tijuana, Baja, Mexico. Benitez, 32 pro fights. Ontiveros, 19 pro fights. But about 85 more minutes in the pro cage and about 5 more years as a pro for Gabriel Benitez. And he's also got 10 more fights at the UFC level and almost 100 more minutes in the UFC cage. Benitez is the better finisher with an 81% finish rate compared to 54% for Ontiveros. Ontiveros has been finished in all of his losses, 7 knockouts and 1 tap to strikes, while Gabriel Benitez has been finished in 6 of 10 losses. He's been knocked out 4 times and submitted 2 times. So neither one of these guys is the picture of durability. And in 18 combined losses, 14 of them are inside the distance. So I believe almost 70% of these guys combined losses are inside the distance. That's something that we love for a violence bet. When we look at the striking numbers for these two guys, we see power numbers here for both of them, right? 3.16 knockdowns per 15 minutes for the American Bad Boy. 0.56 knockdowns for Benitez over a big sample size. And that 0.8% knockdowns for total significant strikes landed. In addition to that, he's landing 0.62 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs, while Ontiveros lands less than 1 significant strike a minute and is absorbing 4.74 with a sparkling 26.23% striking defense, while Benitez boasting a really nice striking defense of 65%. Benitez has been knocked down 4 times, though, in 12 fights. So when we look at the grappling numbers, Ontiveros isn't trying to take anybody down, I promise you. His grappling is trash. Benitez, in 12 UFC fights, has only attempted 2 takedowns. So let's just throw out the grappling numbers. These dudes are going to stand in front of each other and throw heavy kicks until somebody quits. The more likely guy to quit will be the American Bad Boy, Charlie Ontiveros, as he's been finished in all 8 of his losses. And we've seen him quit, not just, get beat, but stop, tell the ref to stop the fight before the fight had stopped. So, and they're both extremely dangerous. Ontiveros is a karate-style striker. His favorite technique is an axe kick, and he knocked down Steve Garcia with it a couple of times. So when you stand in front of Ontiveros, he's very dangerous because of his length. He's got power in both hands, and he's got nasty kicks. But it's Benitez who's just fought the better brand of competition. And and who's been at this level for 12 fights in 107 minutes, while for Ontiveros, he's only been in the cage for 9.5 minutes and gotten his ass shaved in both fights. So, yeah, I mean, I see why Benitez is the big favorite here at -360, but I would never lay -360 on Gabriel Benitez. And here's why. When we look at the wins, 0.71 ratio and only 4.83 total fights. So the guys that Benitez is beating have an average UFC record of 2 wins and 2.83 losses. And I just want to take you through these wins real quick here, you guys. And like I say, these stats, they can all be downloaded for free in the description of this video. And I'm going to bring you to the stats for Benitez so we can see his wins. So Benitez's wins are Justin James, 1-4 in the UFC, Humberto Bandone, 1-3 in the UFC, Jason the Kid Knight, 4-5 in the UFC, Sam Sicilia, 5-7 in the UFC, Clay Collard, 1-3, Humberto Brown, 0-1. When you add up those records, 12 wins, 23 losses, and none of these guys actually have a winning record. So there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that Gabriel Benitez doesn't beat any really good fighters at this level. The good news is that Charlie Ontiveros isn't a good UFC fighter either. So, it's probably going to be Benitez all day. But am I laying -360 on Benitez? No. The bet probably for this fight is just the under 1.5. Excuse me, guys. Oh. Got a little pain in the pit right here. I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I am starving. So, so I think the under 1.5 is a solid bet here. I'll be looking to maybe, if I can get Charlie Ontiveros by first round knockout at something like plus 1,500 or plus 2,000, I might sprinkle that for a little bit because I think the guy is extremely dangerous. But the pick is going to be Gabriel Benitez to win it by knockout in the very first round, but I'm not going to lay that price on him. I think it's entirely too much, and it would be very irresponsible to lay -360 on the aging Gabriel Benitez when his opponent has really good striking and really dangerous striking as well. So either way, the pick is going to be Benitez by first round knockout, but I'm not laying -360. The next fight, Martin Buday against Lukasz Brzeski. Buday, the -265 favorite on Bet Online. It's Brzeski at plus 225. The fight doesn't go to decision at -188. So, hang on just a second, guys. We got my guy Nick showing up saying here, damn, sorry, Uncle Weezy, I'm an hour late for class. Don't worry about it, man. We can actually catch you up. You can always go back to the beginning of the video, man. You're not required to be here on time. I'm not that prick college professor that actually takes attendance. My guy Bob Spikerman saying, Weezy, you are the fucking man. Thank you. I appreciate you. I preach all the time. I don't like North Cal fighters, Sacramento, San Jose, San Francisco area. If it was building attributes, North Carolina fighters like Nate Diaz with their cool, I'm badass bar. Yeah, I hear you, man. And yeah, this fight is a major pass. It says Sicky does MMA. I appreciate that, man. Prince of Mischief saying, open the cigar. Is that a coffin? I can't even tell. My screen is too small, man. But yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate all of you for hanging out. How many of you are in here? Let me have a look. We got 68 of you guys hanging out here on a Tuesday night after the Contender Series with your Uncle Weezy. Appreciate each and every one of you for spending your Tuesday night here on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel. Check out the free stats in the description of the video. Check out the Patreon link, and let's get back to it here, you guys. Angela Hill against Loopy. Or no, I'm sorry. We got Martin Buday against Lukasz Brzeski here. So let me get this one over here, and didn't quite get it. And we've got both of these guys 30 years old. Both of these guys are 6'4". Brzeski with a 1-inch reach advantage. It's an orthodox stance for both fighters, but Buday's the bigger guy. Buday cuts weight to make 265. Brzeski weighs in around 235. Both of these guys, 11 fights. Buday, 15 more minutes in the cage, but Brzeski with a couple more years, 2.5 more years as a pro. Buday, 2 fights at the UFC level. Brzeski, 1, and a couple more minutes for Buday in the cage. The finish rates, 88% for Brzeski and 8 wins. So seven of 8 wins inside the distance, 2 by submission, 5 by knockout. While Buday's got 8 finishes in 10 fights, 7 knockouts, and 1 submission. Brzeski has been finished in his only loss. Buday has never been finished. In the striking, we see that Buday landing about 2.6 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs, 72.5% striking accuracy, 2.53% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed, 1.81 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Brzeski, 5.78 landed, 3.1 absorbed. Brzeski throwing a lot more volume than his opponents did. This was the Dylan Potter fight on the Contender Series here. In the grappling, we see Brzeski's done a nice job getting takedowns and winning minutes on the ground, particularly in the Dylan Potter fight, which is the only fight we have stats on. But when you watch the regional scene footage too, we see Brzeski winning a lot of minutes on the ground. Not great with takedowns, but the fights just seem to go there. They go to the fence and then they wind up going to the ground. But Buday also obviously winning a ton of minutes here, 69% control time for, 1.71% control time against. So both of these guys have done a great job of winning minutes. But Buday, the better grappler here, is he's a European no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. And like I say, he's the much bigger guy. He's probably going to be 40 to 50 pounds heavier on fight day. While they're the same height, it's Brzeski who's more muscular and lean, while Buday is just a gigantic human being here. Elephant in the room, Lukasz Brzeski caught cheating, pissed hot for steroids in the Dylan Potter fight. So he's been suspended for 9 months. I believe it was clonopine that he tested positive for. I've gotten some information from a guy that I know, shout out Dave in Poland. Brzeski was a heavy PED user, like a lot of people are in the regional scene, like Josh Quinlan was. Bruno Silva was, like Carlos Felipe was. A lot of these guys have tested positive for the juice, and then they get into the UFC, and then they wind up in the USADA testing pool, and then we're going to see what they're made of. Brzeski off the PEDs now. Heavy PED user. Also, just coming over to Vegas now from Poland. Evidently got caught in New York in a giant storm, and the UFC had to get him a hotel room there. So he is not going to have enough time to acclimate as well. I'm very confident in Martin Buday in this spot. There are some attributes that Buday has that I think are going to be very difficult for Brzeski to deal with. The clinch game of Buday is very good. Buday's durability is next level. Saw Lorenzo Hood absolutely blast him with shots, and he ate them like a pancake and didn't even react to them. And not only that, Brzeski, not good conditioning. Martin Buday, excellent conditioning for his size. I see Brzeski maybe landing a big shot or two earlier, but he's not taking down Martin Buday, and he's not going to win minutes on top on this fight. I think Buday is going to put this dude up against the cage, wear on him, exploit the fact that his conditioning is not good, exploit the fact that he's off the juice, exploit the fact that he got to San Diego late. And I think that Martin Buday is going to win this fight. I think he's going to wear down Brzeski against that cage and get a knockout in the late second or early third round here. Very confident in Martin Buday getting this win by knockout inside the distance by just wearing on Brzeski, being the better conditioned athlete, being the smarter fighter, and being the guy that with the clinch knees, the clinch elbows, and the ability to make his opponent wear his weight and really take advantage of the fact that Brzeski's conditioning is subpar for this level. I think this is Martin Buday all die. Let's go. Next fight, Angela Hill versus Lupita Godinez. Angela Hill plus 250, Lupita, otherwise known as Loopy, minus 300. The fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at plus 205. So, Loopy Godinez is 9 years younger. And Angela Hill will be the bigger woman here. She's 1 inch taller and has a 3-inch reach advantage. Angie, 15 more pro fights, 200 more minutes in the pro cage, over 4 more years as a pro, 15 more UFC level fights, over 200 more minutes in the UFC cage. She's also the better finisher with a 38% knockout rate overall, while Loopy's a 25% finisher overall with 1 submission win, 1 knockout win, and 8 pro wins. Angela Hill, next level durability. She's been submitted twice in 12 UFC losses and never been knocked out, while Loopy Godinez has never been finished in her career. The striking advantage will go to Angela Hill here. She's an excellent Muay Thai striker. She lands 5.34, absorbs 4.92, throws less volume than her opponents, but 63% striking defense, decent power at 3 knockdowns in 20 fights. Loopy Godinez lands about 0.5 more significant strikes per minute than she absorbs, 58% striking accuracy, 58% striking defense. But this is a striker versus grappler matchup. As we see, Loopy Godinez has 23 takedowns on 50 attempts in only 5 fights. 5.37 takedowns per 15 minutes, and she's out-controlling her opponents 56% to 13%. And what's even more important than that is the fact that Loopy Godinez's fights thus far in the UFC are taking place in control time positions 7 out of 10 seconds. That is a lot, and that is where Angela Hill does not want to be. Angela Hill's fights take place at striking range about 70% of the time. So we see Angela Hill, 70% striking, 30% grappling. Godinez, 70% grappling, 30% striking. So when we ask which one of these fighters has the tool in order to, does Angela Hill have the tool to keep this fight standing, or does Loopy Godinez have the tool in order to push the wrestling heavy game plan to get this fight up against the cage and eventually on the ground where she can win minutes? Well, 46% takedown accuracy is stellar. 5.37 takedowns per 15 minutes is stellar. 56.5% control time for, 12.8% control time against is stellar. 80% takedown defense compared to 76 for Hill. But, you know, Hill 11 takedowns in 20 fights. Her getting takedowns and winning control time positions is not how she wins fights. She does not want to be there. She has half as many takedowns as her opponents, but she's only got 12.5% control time for, but only allowed 17.7 against. So she is very efficient in the grappling exchanges, and 77% takedown defense is excellent. But the last fight against Vera Jandiroba, who's not a very good wrestler, we saw Vera be able to get the fight to those grappling exchanges over and over and over again. And that's very, very troubling at this point, because if Loopy, we know that Loopy's going to commit to the wrestling. And if she does, and if Angela Hill couldn't stop takedowns against Vera Jandiroba, I just don't see her stopping takedowns against Loopy Godinez here. When we look at the strength of schedule numbers here, we will see that Loopy has the better ratio, but the more experienced competition has been Angela Hill. And the wins for Hill just aren't good. They're below a 1 ratio, 5.38 total fights. You know, you add up the records of the ladies that she's beaten, and it's 2.38 wins and 3 losses. So let's examine those wins for Angela Hill. Because I think it's important when we look at the strength of schedule, it's those wins that are important to me. Can you beat fighters that are good UFC level fighters? And you see that 2 of the wins are against Ashley Yoder, Loma Lukbunmi, Hannah Cyphers, Ariane Carnelosi, and 0-4 Jody Escobel. The signature win, without question, is against Marina Moroz. But that was back in 2018. Ashley Yoder again, Emily Kagan. 19 wins, 32 losses. Really, the only ones that are still with the organization are Lukbunmi and Moroz. I mean, I think Yoder might still be there, but we haven't seen her in a minute. And Hannah Cyphers, I know, is back now. I think she's got a fight, but she's 2-5. So, you know, these women that Angela Hill are beating are not the best UFC level competition. So, you know, it's hard to be confident that she's going to be able to win minutes in the grappling exchanges here, especially when Godinez has been spending 70% of her fights in grappling control time positions where she should dominate this fight. So yeah, this one is going to be, the pick is going to be Loopy Godinez winning it by decision. I think it's the best and most likely outcome for either fighter here. I think she's going to dominate the wrestling, and I think she's going to win a ton of minutes on the ground and make it very difficult for Angela to be on the feet and be where she's most comfortable and most likely to win minutes. The next fight is going to be such a banger, you guys. It is going to be Bruno Silva against Gerald Meerschaert. Can't wait for this one. Let me just kind of get these set up here. I think that's the okay, yeah. Silva Meerschaert. Silva minus 280, Meerschaert plus 240. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 330. Hang on just a second. Let me get in here just for a second. Let me look. Okay. All right, you guys. Let's get into this next fight. So both of these guys on the wrong side of 30 here. 33 for Bruno, 34 for Gerald. Gerald, 1 inch taller, has 3 inches of reach, and he is the southpaw fighting out of Rufus Sport, and it's Evolucao tie for Bruno Silva. 49 professional fights for Wisconsin's Gerald Meerschaert. This will be his 50th professional fight. Big ups, Gerald Meerschaert, an absolute veteran of the middleweight weight class of the UFC and just in general in MMA. 341 minutes in the pro cage compared to 150 for Silva. So almost 200 more minutes and about 3.5 more years as a pro for Gerald Meerschaert. He's also got 12 more fights at the UFC level and almost 100 more minutes in the UFC cage. Both of these guys are savage finishers. 86% finish rate for Silva. 94% finish rate for Gerald Meerschaert. Neither one of these guys really knows how to win a decision, as it looks like 94%. So I think 32 of 34 wins for Meerschaert. Oh, here, wait, you know what? Look at the prop template, because we can see the crazy amount of numbers that these guys put up when it comes to just finishing fights here. So Silva Meerschaert. We see Gerald Meerschaert, 32 of 34 wins inside the distance. Bruno Silva, 19 of 22. So 51 of these guys, 56 combined wins are coming inside the distance. That's 91% combined. And in their losses, it's 72.73. 16 of 22 losses coming inside the distance. So an 86% finish rate for these guys combined as a pro, and an 80% finish rate at the UFC level in their combined wins and losses. So this is a spot that's obviously sticking out for violence. You can use the fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece this week, but it is juiced up, as you can see on the screen, to almost 400. If we look at the stats here, when it comes to the striking, this is a striker versus grappler matchup, really plain and simple. Meerschaert needs to get this fight down to the ground. He's got 26 career wins by submission. And Bruno Silva has never submitted anybody. 86% of his 22 pro wins have come by knockout. So Silva's looking to keep this fight standing. If it goes to the ground, he wants to be on top so he can land that nasty ground and pound that he has. Gerald Meerschaert pretty simply needs to get this fight to the ground, get on Silva's back, and find a submission. If he doesn't, it's just a matter of time before Silva either knocks him out standing or gets on top of him, winds up in his guard, and lands some of that nasty ground and pound that he knocked out Wellington Turman with. And if you go back and you watch that Silva Turman fight, those shots that Bruno Silva landed on ground and pound, he was not even winding up. He's just got naturally heavy hands. He just separates you from your consciousness. And he'll take his time too. He's got a 4th round knockout. He's been in some 5-round fights. This guy, he can go for a while. We saw him last 3 rounds with Alex Pereira on the feet. So clearly, Silva should be a big favorite in this fight. Gerald Meerschaert is not a minute winner on the feet. he's really not even a minute winner on the ground. I mean, the grappling numbers are okay, right? 40% on takedown accuracy is excellent, but he's still only averaging 2.25 per 15 minutes, and he's spending less, 22% of his UFC cage time controlling his opponent. 50% of his fights are taking place in control time positions. For Silva, it's even more than that. It's actually about 56, 57% for Silva. So Silva has not done a good job of keeping fights out of control time positions, which is troubling because that's where Meerschaert needs this fight. And Meerschaert spending 50% of his fights in control time positions for or against, and it's 55% for Silva. So the likelihood that this fight is going to wind up in a place where Meerschaert can win a moment, can get a submission, is actually very high. That troubles me because this 68% takedown defense isn't good enough. And if Meerschaert isn't getting the takedown against you, he might just pull guard. I don't think that this guy really cares whether he's on top or on the bottom, as long as he can start to work that grappling game, which is where he's by far the most dangerous. When we look at the strength of schedule for these two gentlemen, we see similar ratio numbers here, but it's Meerschaert who's got the better ratio and the more experienced competition. And he's also got the better ratio in his wins, but Silva is beating the more experienced competition. So, I think it's tricky because I do see why Silva's the favorite here. As long as this fight is on the feet, it's going to be Silva who's landing the bombs and very dangerous. And I mean, Meerschaert just does not have great striking defense. Even in the fights that he's winning, he's losing a lot of striking exchanges before he locks up a submission. And I don't believe that Gerald Meerschaert has won a decision. Yeah, he hasn't even won a decision at the UFC level yet. And neither has Bruno Silva. So the very high likelihood that this fight finishes inside the distance. We've seen Meerschaert finished in 73% of his pro wins and 57% of his UFC in his losses. And then for Silva, it's 71% of his 7 losses that have been inside the distance. They're all by submission. So it's either Meerschaert by submission or Bruno Silva by knockout. But violence is the word of the day here, and I'm going to be picking Bruno Blindado Silva to win this one by first round ground and pound knockout, we'll call it. But yeah, I think he finishes Gerald inside the distance here. I just don't see Meerschaert having the skills on the feet to avoid the big shot here. And even if Silva does get on top, his ground and pound is so dangerous that I think he might knock out Gerald before Gerald can lock up a submission. So feel pretty good about Bruno Blindado Silva getting this one done inside the distance by knockout. The next fight is one fight that I will not be touching with the 10-foot pole. We've already talked about this fight, but instead of going through all these statistics, which I think really don't matter, let's just touch on what's important here. Nina Nunes, 36, coming off of pregnancy. Cynthia Calvillo, 35, coming off of 3 straight losses. The striker versus grappler matchup. Nunes, the far superior striker. Cynthia Calvillo, the far superior grappler. The problem is that I don't know if either of these women give a shit anymore. And there would be, and this is what I said on Stat Diaries, and I think it's the easiest way to sum up this fight and to say, because I'm summing it up this way, I'm not getting near it anywhere. Would you be surprised if Cynthia Calvillo lost this fight, making her 4 losses in a row at the age of 35, if she were to leave her gloves in the cage? I wouldn't. Would you be surprised if Cynthia Calvillo took down Nina Nunes, submitted her in the very first or the second round, and then Nunes took off her gloves, left him in the cage, and said, I'm a mom now. I don't need this shit anymore. My wife is the champion of the world, and she makes plenty of money for both of us. I'm walking away. So when I see 2 fighters that potentially might not give a shit, might have both feet out the door already, why would I want to have money on that fight? I don't think either one of these ladies is ready to fight for my money, so I don't want money on the fight. I even think a sneaky thing here could be fight doesn't go to decision, even though I don't think either one of these ladies is finishing the other. if one of them is finished fighting and they know that mentally walking into the cage, they'll look for the door with the first sign of trouble. So I'm not touching it. This is your Uncle Weezy's 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week. This is your Uncle Weezy's orange bag fight of the week, where if I catch you betting on it, I'm coming after you with that bag of oranges. I'm going to beat you with it until you're bleeding internally and until I juice those oranges. Then I'm going to drink that juice in front of you. Because I don't think you should be betting on either one of these ladies. I actually think Calvillo wins the fight, but you got to lay juice to bet Calvillo here. So, like I say, big stay away, not touching it, not getting into the statistics. But if you want to get into the statistics, that's why you download your Uncle Weezy stats for free, and you can use them. You can use these stats to help you make whatever gambling decision you think is best for this fight. My best gambling advice for this fight is don't touch it. I'll pick Cynthia Calvillo to win. We'll call it by submission, but, like I say, not touching it, not confident, not ready to talk about this fight anymore. What is the next fight here? All right, so they've got Cachoeira, Lipski next. We've already talked about that one. So the next one is going to be Devin Brown Bear Clark squaring off against Azamat Murzakanov. Very interesting fight. Murzakanov, a small favorite here at -140. Devin Clark, +120. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at -175 here. Let me see here. Do I have comment highlight? I think I might have had a comment highlighter, which was blocking the screen. My bad on that one. But yeah. All right. So we've got two guys that are similar in age here. Azamat 1 year older. It's Clark, who's 2 inches taller and has a 4-inch reach advantage. Azamat is a southpaw out of the K Dojo Warrior Tribe. Devin Clark fighting out of Jackson Wink. 8 more pro fights for Devin Clark in comparison to Murzakanov, and about 150 more minutes in the pro cage. But it's Murzakanov who's fought 3.5 more years as a pro. So Murzakanov just completely inactive, fights about once a year. While for Devin Clark, it's twice a year, and he's been active at the UFC level much longer than Murzakanov, as he's got 13 fights at the UFC level, Murzakanov only 2. And about 130 more minutes in the UFC cage. Clark, not as good of a finisher as Azamat is. 82% finish rate for Azamat, 39% finish rate for Clark, and only a 14% finish rate for Clark at the UFC level, while it's 100% for Murzakanov in his 2 UFC wins. Devin Clark has been finished in 5 of 6 losses. So this is a spot where I do like violence, because Devin Clark has been finished in 5 of 6 losses, but if you watch the Kudalaba fight, he probably should have been finished in that fight too. As a matter of fact, the doctors almost didn't let him come out for the 3rd round because, I think his teeth were falling out. And he actually asked his dad, should I keep fighting? And his dad's like, I don't know, should you? I think his dad's a psychopath, but man, that's probably why Devin Clark is as good of a fighter as he is, because his dad's involved in his life and pushing him probably since the day he was born to be the best he could be. And man, Devin Clark's a tough dude. But he's going up against Azamat Murzakanov here, who's a Russian hand-to-hand combat champion. Those guys are fighting bare knuckle. They're using submissions. They're using kicks. And Murzakanov is explosive. He's an explosive southpaw. His heels almost never touch the ground. He's very high up on the balls of that feet. He's bouncing in and out, and he explodes in every strike that Azamat Murzakanov throws at you is with the intention of ending the fight. Clark does throw with power, and he has landed 3 knockdowns in 13 UFC fights. He's landing 0.31 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So he's got power of his own, but a 47% striking defense, and he's been knocked down 3 times in 13 fights. So he's definitely been knocked down as many times as he's got knocked down his opponents. So, but Murzakanov has landed 5%. So yeah, 2 knockdowns in 2 fights. Knocked out Nchukwi and he knocked out Shuffle. And this is what this guy does a lot. I mean, he knocked out Andre Muniz on the regional scene at 205 pounds. Murzakanov is very, very, very dangerous. We also see Murzakanov wrestle a little bit on the regional scene, but he's going to probably want to keep this fight standing. Devin Clark, 67 takedown attempts in 13 fights. 24 of them are successful, 36% takedown accuracy, 2.5 takedowns for 15 minutes. And he's out-controlling his opponents 36.5% to 26%. Not great takedown defense in his own right here at 54% takedown defense. And he's been controlled about 35 minutes on those 12 takedowns in 26 attempts. So potentially Murzakanov might be able to win minutes with the grappling, but I think we can see here that Clark will be the more willing wrestler. And he's also been more accurate at this level. And he's also fought the better brand of competition, as we've only seen Murzakanov fight in Chukwi and Sheffel at this level, but we also know that he fought Fakhreddin in Brave, he fought Guto in Ascension Brave, and he's beaten Andre Nunes as well. So he's fought some good regional scene competition here. But you see the 1.26 ratio for Devin Clark in 8 total fights, and the wins are against winning competition: 3.14 wins, 2.71 losses, a 1.16 ratio. So Devin Clark's no joke. He's going to push that wrestling pace. He's very, very durable. Even though he's been finishing 5 or 6 losses, you look at the guys who are finishing him, they are finishers. I mean, these are guys that are deadly fighters. And when you get up in these higher weight classes, you're going to find guys, Devin's a little bit undersized because of the size of his legs. He carries all his weight in those massive thighs of his. And Murzakanov's undersized for the division as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. But Murzakanov is an excellent wrestler. Murzakanov actually has a win over Ion Cutelaba in the Sambo World Championship, where he absolutely destroyed Ion Cutelaba. And it's important to note that Ion Cutelaba absolutely destroyed Devin Clark. I think Murzakanov will be the much more dangerous striker here, and I see him landing a big shot and getting Devin Clark out of there. Clark's a very good wrestler, but I don't think Azamat is going to be at a deficit there. And I think that if you're not at a wrestling deficit with Devin Clark, that you're probably going to get the win. So I'm going to pick Murzakanov to win this one. And I think he's going to win it early. I think he's going to land a big shot like he tends to. And when he lands, people go down. So I'll be picking Azamat Murzakanov to win this by first round knockout. And the next fight is going to be a very interesting one. We've only got 3 fights left to break down here, you guys. It is going to be Yasmin Jauregui against Yasmin Lucindo. All right, so we've got Jauregui right now as a minus 184 favorite on Bet Online. Everywhere else, she's at least minus 200. And Yasmin Lucindo, plus 159. The fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at plus 130 right now. These ladies are very young. Yasmin Jauregui, 23 years old. Lucindo, 20. They're the same height. Jauregui will have a 1-inch reach advantage. Fighting out of the happiest place on earth, Tijuana, Baja, Mexico, while Yasmin Lucindo out of the Academia Fight House. I believe she trains with Virna Jandiroba, the very handsome Virna Jandiroba. Lucindo, 17 fights at the age of 20. She turned pro at 15. So she's been doing this for a minute. Jauregui, 8 fights at the age of 23 here. 50 more minutes in the pro cage for Lucindo and about a year and a half more as a pro. Neither one of these ladies has fought at the UFC level. Yasmin Lucindo, a 77% finish rate, 62% by knockout, 15% by sub. And Jauregui has finished 6 of her 8 wins inside the distance, all of them by knockout. Lucindo has been finished in 3 of her 4 pro losses. Now, we don't have any stats for either of these ladies at the UFC level because they're both going to be making their debut. But from what I saw on tape, Jauregui, to me, was extremely impressive on tape. I loved everything that I saw from Jauregui. The speed, the striking, throwing in combination, the conditioning. She can get takedowns and win minutes on the ground if she doesn't feel comfortable on the feet. She can get up if her opponents take her down. She's got good defensive wrestling as well. It looks like she's at a very young age, is putting it all together, is making good decisions at the right times when she's fighting. And some of these girls that she's beaten, they look like they got thrown off a fucking train after the fight. McKenna Mitchell, I think Yasmin Yaregui broke both of McKenna Mitchell's orbital bones in less than 2 rounds in that fight. That was a doctor's stoppage. There was another doctor's stoppage at the end of the first round of one of Yaregui's fights. She's nasty on the feet. Yasmin Lucindo is a very good grappler. She gets takedowns. She gets on top. She's got good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She is a position over submission grappler, and she loves using that ground and pound in order to get those knockouts on the ground. In order to be successful, Yasmin Lucindo is going to have to get this fight to the ground. Yaregui could potentially even have success getting the fight to the ground in her own right, in my opinion, but she is going to be the far, far, far better striker here. I watched all of Yaregui's tape. I was incredibly impressed. I went to go watch Lucindo's tape. I watched the first 30 seconds of her fight where she was striking, and I don't remember which one it was, but I almost immediately max bet Yaregui when I saw Yasmin Lucindo strike. They're not even on the same planet when it comes to striking acumen. But then I saw Lucindo wrestle, and I said, oh shit, this girl is no joke. She has her own way of winning fights, and she has a path here. If she's getting takedowns, if she's getting on top, if she's maintaining position like we've seen her do on the regional scene, she's going to have success here against Yasmin. But I've seen Yasmin stop takedowns, and what's important for this fight, everybody, is that this fight is taking place at 115 pounds, and Yasmin Lucindo has not fought at 115 pounds in a long time, and this fight is taken on short notice for her. So let's look at this real quick. Lucindo has been fighting at 125, right? And look at how handsome she is, too. Look at that picture. Very handsome fighter. That's going to be intimidating for Yaregui to deal with. But she's a professional fighter. These are the kind of hurdles that professional fighters have to go. I mean, sometimes you're going to fight somebody that's extremely handsome, and that's going to be intimidating. But it's how you deal with it that determines your mettle as a fighter here. But good win over Lucrecia Ria. That was April 9th of 2022, so 4 months ago at this point. Another win over Sarah Frota. So she's got 2 signature wins here. But the rest of the wins coming against lower-level competition, 1-2, 2-1, 0-0. But in October of 2020 was the last time we saw her fight at strawweight. The Frota fight at flyweight. The Canelon fight at flyweight. The Almeida fight at 143 pounds, 143. And then the Lucrecia Ria fight at 125. So she's taking this fight on 10 days' notice and cutting down to strawweight for the first time since 2020. In addition to that, she's going to be fighting Yaregui, who's got excellent conditioning and good takedown defense. And in order for Yasmin Lucindo to win this fight, she's going to need to get takedowns and push a grappling-heavy game plan, which is going to be exhausting. She's cutting down to 115 for the first time in 2 years, okay? She's doing it on short notice, and then she's going to have the gas tank to push a wrestling-heavy game plan against somebody that hits very hard for this division. I like Yasmin Yaregui a lot in this spot. I do have a bet on her. I think that this line kind of got away from Bet Online. I don't understand what the action is here at minus 184, but I have bet her. You'll check out all my track bets when we're done with breaking down the other 2 fights on this card. But the bet is going to be Yasmin Yaregui to win this one by 3rd round knockout. I think she's going to wear down Lucindo over the course of the full 15 minutes of this fight and get a late finish here. And I think the plus money on fight doesn't go to decision, because if we talk about how both of these ladies are good finishers, how Lucindo's been finished in 3 or 4 losses, how she's cutting down to 115 for the first time in 2 years and doing it on short notice, love the fight doesn't go to decision here at plus money. And the next fight is going to be so much fun as well. It is David Onama at minus 300 here, coming in against Nate the Train Landwehr. Clarksville, Tennessee, stand up. Your boy Nate is going to be showing up on Saturday to fight and maybe come through again as a big underdog. The fight doesn't go to decision here at minus 220 as the bookies are expecting violence here. This is your co-main event of the evening. Onama's 6 years younger. He's 2 inches taller and has a 2-inch reach advantage. So a nice measurables advantage here for David Onama. While we see that Nate Landwehr has got the experience advantage with 8 more professional fights, about 150 more minutes in the pro cage, and about 6.5 more years as a pro here. But it's Landwehr with 1 more fight at the UFC level and 4 more minutes in the UFC cage. So the UFC experience is very close. But Landwehr, the more experienced fighter, Onama, the younger fighter and the bigger fighter. Onama's also the better finisher here with a 100% finish rate in 10 wins, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he's an equal opportunity finisher. While Landwehr's got a 60% finish rate as a pro, 53% by knockout, 7% by submission. And Landwehr has been finished in 3 of 4 losses, while Onama has never been finished. In the striking numbers here, Onama's absorbing almost as much as he lands and throwing almost as much as his opponents throw. He's got 1 knockdown. He's never been knocked down. Both of these guys striking defense sitting right around 51, 52%. Nate lands a little bit more than he absorbs and throws a little bit more than his opponents do. The numbers are actually pretty close on the feet here. Nate's at his best when he's pressuring, and David's just got a lot of power, man. And we saw David eat some big shots against Gabriel Benitez, and Benitez had him in some trouble early. But then David, was able to eat those shots, come back, land some big shots of his own. And we saw that Onama's got legit power at this level. And we also know that Nate Landwehr is coming off a big win over the Slovakian Ludovic Klein. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very good fight. Onama, the much younger guy, the bigger guy, the more explosive guy, the guy that's a little more hyped right now, he's the younger man. But Nate Landwehr was fighting killers in ACB and ACA. And then he came over here and he's caught a couple of bad, losses against Julian Erosa, against Herbert Burns. He got knocked out in both of those shots, but good wins over Darren Elkins and Ludovic Klein. While the wins for Onama not nearly as impressive here with Garrett Armfield and Gabriel Benitez. And then a loss to Mason Jones, which at the time everyone expected him to lose that fight. But now we've seen Mason Jones, just look like absolute trash against got 30-27 by Ludovic Klein. And Ludovic Klein, the guy who got submitted by Nate Landwehr. So, there's reasons to like Landwehr here, okay? He's the more experienced fighter. He's been around longer. He's got a sneaky submission game of his own, which we saw him going for those Darce chokes against Ludovic Klein. Didn't get the one that he went for in the second round, but in the third round, after he had wore him down with his pressure and with his volume, he got it. So it's going to be interesting to see because Onama's very durable, but we can see here that he's got 50% takedown defense in his own right, 40% control time against, only 10% control time for. So Nate's done a great job, and he's used to having to fight a game plan where he stops the grappling attempts of his opponents because he's fought in Russia. Onama might go for takedowns here, but I don't think he's going to have much success. Nate Landwehr stopping takedowns at an 87.5% rate, stuffed 14 to 16 takedown attempts against, and has only given up about 11% control time, despite the fact that he's only attempted 2 takedowns and his opponents have attempted 16. Nate's out-controlling his opponents 15.5% to an 11.5%. So he's been very, very efficient in the grappling exchanges, while David Onama hasn't. So when we look at the strength of schedule, that's Nate Landwehr too, you guys. Regional scene and UFC. Nate Landwehr's fighting the better brand of competition, beating the better brand of competition, and losing to the better brand of competition. Nate's more experienced. He's the better submission. He's facing the better brand of competition. Onama's bigger. He's going to be the more powerful striker. But neither one of these guys is particularly great defensively. Landwehr's been knocked out a couple of times, And we've seen Onama hurt on the feet as well. We saw Mason Jones box him up on the feet. And I just think it's really interesting that Nate Landwehr just beat Ludovic Klein, and Ludovic Klein just beat Mason Jones, and Mason Jones beat David Onama. But Onama did take that fight on short notice. It was his UFC debut. So there's a lot to forgive there. And that's a really tough opponent to come into the UFC against because Jones is so game, because he's such a scrapper. I have to go with Onama because when I tape the fight, I don't see anywhere where Landwehr is that much better than Onama that I can just say, oh, well, if he fights this way or if he has success in this area, he should easily cover that plus 250 price tag that he's got. But, I think Onama is a little more explosive. He is younger. He is bigger. He's hungrier at this point. And I think he's just as likely to do the things that Nate Landwehr does when he's successful, and that's pressure, throw volume, land big shots. So I am going to go with Onama. I think he wins this fight by knockout. I think he continues finishing at a 100% rate here as Landwehr's been finished in 3 of his 4 pro losses. But at the same time, I don't feel comfortable laying minus 300 on Onama here. And even though I'm picking him to win, I'm not going to be betting on him here. That gets us through 12 fights, which leaves us with only one more to break down, you guys. It's the main event. It's Marlon Vera up against Dominick Cruz. It is moment winner and finisher against minute winner and decisionator. 29 years of age for Marlon Vera, 37 years old for Dominick Cruz. So will it be the veteran savvy, the defensive responsibility, the former champion, the movement, the fight IQ of Dominick Cruz here? Or is it going to be the forward pressure, the durability, the doggedness, the power, the conditioning, and the ability to be able to turn up that pressure and volume as the fight goes on? This is a fascinating stylistic matchup any way you slice it. And you look and you're like, holy shit, they've got the same amount of pro fights. So Vera's 8 years younger and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage and he fights out of both stances. So we like that measurables wise. But we would expect that Dominick Cruz would have the experience advantage. But actually, he's got 70 more minutes in the cage and he's got about 6.5 more years as a pro. But Marlon Vera's got just as many fights. And he's actually got 10 more fights at the UFC level and about 60 more minutes in the UFC cage. So this is, surprising to me that not only does Marlon Vera have the size and the youth advantage here, but he's also got the UFC experience advantage and has as many pro fights as Dominick Cruz. And then obviously he's the better finisher. We know that. And obviously Marlon Vera is more durable because nobody's finishing Marlon Vera unless your name is God, or Death or the Grim Reaper. Nobody's fucking finishing this dude. And it's not going to be Dominick Cruz. So Dominick Cruz by decision or Marlon Vera wins the fight. There is no other options. Vera absorbs more than he lands. His opponents throw more volume than him. He's not particularly defensive responsible, but he's very durable. He's never been knocked down in 19 pro fights. In 19 UFC fights and over 1,100 significant strikes absorbed. This dude has never been knocked down. Now, Dominick Cruz is showing a stellar 66% striking defense. He lands about 1 more significant strike per minute than he absorbs. He throws about 1.4 more significant strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. Not very accurate, not much power, only 1 knockdown in 9 UFC fights. And he has been knocked down 4 times in 9 fights. So, 0.36 knockdowns absorbed per 15 minutes. We saw Pedro Munoz drop him in his last fight. Cruz, pretty good at wrestling, obviously. The guy's a great wrestler, but what he's not good at is winning a ton of minutes with his wrestling. What he is excellent at is not losing minutes with his defensive wrestling, not allowing his opponents to take him down. But That's not going to be as big of an attribute here for Dominic Cruz because Marlon Vera is really not trying to take his opponents down much. Only 26 takedown attempts in 19 UFC fights and less than 14% control time for Marlon Vera here. So even though he gets his takedowns at a decent clip, we see that it's less than 1 per 15 minutes. But when that fight does get to the ground, one thing we can count on from Marlon Vera is him working for submissions. 1.13 submission attempts for 15 minutes. So Cruz will be the more likely guy to go for takedowns here and try to win minutes with the grappling. But Vera at 68.5% takedown defense, 23% control time allowed. I don't really see Cruz, a guy who's only got 13% control time, for being a guy that wins a bunch of minutes on the ground here. I think that this fight's going to take place on the feet, and Dominic Cruz is going to have to avoid that power of Marlon Vera for the full 25 minutes here. And Vera's landed 9 knockdowns in 19 fights. And he might be willing to eat 2, 3, 4 shots just to get into range and land that big one on Cruz. So the question is, can Dominic Cruz win enough minutes and stay safe enough for 25 minutes against Marlon Vera to not get finished in this fight? Because if he doesn't get finished, he's going to be live to win a decision here because of his ability to be able to win minutes. Because of his ability to be able to win decisions against some of the best mixed martial artists at 135 pounds that any organization has had to offer since Dominic Cruz has been at a high level, which has been a very long time. So it's a fascinating matchup. Dominic Cruz with the strength of schedule advantage here by a mile. 2.38 ratio to 1.51 for Vera and 13.89 total fights for Cruz to 9.37 for Vera. Better ratio in his wins and more experienced fighters in his wins, and a better ratio in the losses and more experienced fighters. So Cruz will be the better minute winner, the better strength of schedule. Marlon Vera is younger. He's bigger. He's the more powerful striker. He's the better submission grappler, as we see this guy going out there looking for submissions, attempting submissions at the UFC level and being a high-level grappler. If you're on this Cruz side, just bet him by decision. You'll get a little bit better of a price here. Dominic Cruz is plus 190 right now, plus 200, but Cruz by decision is plus 250 on DraftKings, and that would be the way to go in my opinion here. But I'm not betting Cruz by decision. I think that Marlon Vera wins this fight. Cruz is not as unhittable as he used to be. I don't think those knees are going to allow him to be able to bounce around that cage like he normally does. This isn't a bigger cage. That's going to help Dominic Cruz. This is in San Diego. It's not in the Apex. We're going to get the full 30-foot cage here. So Cruz is going to have more room to move. He's going to be more difficult to find than he would normally be in the smaller cage. But Marlon Vera's got 25 minutes to find him. He's got a ton of power. He's got a ton of durability, so he could actually be of the mind that says, all right, Dom, go ahead. Hit me 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I'm just coming for you, and I'm going to swing heavy. And if I hit you just once, it might be enough at your age. So I got to pick Marlon Vera to get this done. I think he'll probably get it done late like Marlon Vera normally does, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. But I'm picking Marlon Vera to win the main event of UFC San Diego inside the distance by knockout. 91 of you guys hanging out here at almost midnight Central Time on a Tuesday night with your Uncle Weezy. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. Hit the subscribe button over on the MMA Engine YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. And if you want access to all of these amazing analytics that I have in my new prop template, go sign up to the Patreon that I just created today. The link to that Patreon is in the description of this video. But that leaves us with just a couple more orders of business to go over, you guys. First of all, I didn't even get the banner up. Cruz plus 185, Marlon Vera minus 220. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at plus 135. So the first thing that I'm going to give you guys is my tracked bets for UFC San Diego thus far. We've got the Yasmin Yarigui money line at -184 bet for 2 units. I've also got a small sprinkle on Jason Witt by decision at +450 for a quarter of a unit. I might add to that a little bit. I think Jason Witt's best path is by decision. I think he can win minutes in the grappling, and if he avoids that big shot from the juicer Quinlan for 15 minutes, I think he pretty easily wins this fight, actually, or wins enough minutes of the fight to get the nod in the decision. So like that bet for a very small exposure, I can win 1.125 units with a quarter unit bet. Love that one. And then I've also got the Yarigi Lucindo fight doesn't go to decision for 3/4 of a unit at +150. Those are the track bets thus far. I do have one more, and it is associated with what you all came here to see, you guys. It is the Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And there are a lot of options this week. And I think that there's one that stands out above all the other ones. I mean, like, Silva Meerschaert is a potential ass shaving. Onamo Landwehr is a potential ass shaving. Vera Cruz is a potential ass shaving. Murzakanov over Clark is a potential ass shaving. Yarigi over Lucindo is a potential ass shaving. Buday over Brzeski, potential ass shaving. Benitez over Ontiveros, potential ass shaving. And then even like Quinlan over Witt if he lands a big shot. Cachoeira or Lipski if they get their job done. But the one that I'm going with is the one I'm most confident of this week. And I have a gigantic bet on it. It is going to be, and what happened here? I thought I had the ass shaving of the week banner up here somewhere. Did I move it? I guess not, but here it is, you guys. And there's a big bet to go along with it. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And Tristan Sherhouse is going to be very disappointed in me because I know that Brzeski is his underdog pick of the week this week. But I'm going with Martin Buday, the much bigger guy, the much more conditioned athlete here. He's got a much better gas tank, a very smart fighter who is incredible in the clinch, and also durability. He can absolutely eat a shot here. He's never been caught cheating on steroids. He's not off the gas. There are so many reasons here to like Martin Buday, and I think that he easily gets the job done. And my second biggest money line bet of the year this year is on this fight. I have a 4.5 unit bet on Martin Buday money line -225 to shave the ass of Lukasz Brzeski here, off the gas, coming to San Diego late, caught in a storm, 51-hour trip from Poland to San Diego, according to my guy Dave, that I get inside information from in Poland. Very, very confident about Lukasz Brzeski not getting the job done here, and Martin Buday using his fight IQ, using his size and his weight in order to win a ton of minutes on the cage and eventually knock this dude out. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, a 4.5 unit bet to back it up, is going to be Martin Buday to shave the ass of Lukasz Brzeski. I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out on a Tuesday night. What method for Buday, says Mushroom here. It is going to be a knockout for Buday, I believe. Although he's a European no-gi grappling champion as well, so he could get a submission. And especially if he wants to take down Brzeski later in this fight, I could see him absolutely getting a submission. Is Lukasz still pulsing picograms? No, he's been Mr. D saying, is he still pulsing picograms? No, he's not. He's been suspended for 9 months and he's been off the gas. Heavy PED user, according to my guy, and he is off it now, and his camp, and he isn't even confident he's going to win this fight. So That's where we're at here, you guys. Lou Betya is absolutely right when he says that I'm going to be sleeping on his couch if Brzeski wins. That will be the case, but I don't think I'm going to need to sleep on your couch because I'm very confident in this ass shaving. I got 4.5 units to back it up. Let's go. I see a donation in here from my guy Go Flamingo. Ring a ding ding, always supporting the channel, always supporting his Uncle Weezy, saying little cash for the next bag of oranges because Onama is a bum, has only beat cans. The Benitez fight was a coin toss until his chin self-destructed. Nate the Train to derail the Onama hype. I love it, Go Flamingo. I am not going to be betting Onama this week. I think that line is entirely too wide, and Nate the Train is always live. He's a scrapper. He comes forward. And he's shown off a sneaky little submission game recently. So appreciate you, Go Flamingo, for the donation. I appreciate all 80 of you that are still hanging out with here with your Uncle Weezy. We are done for the night. You can check me out tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio at 6 o'clock Central Time for the DFS show. Right back here on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel at 10:30 Central Time after the Club and Sub podcast for Ask Weezy. And then we'll be doing a Uncle Weezy's Greasy 4-leg parlay. I will probably be putting that out as soon as I get all the props here. I've got some ideas of what I want to put together for the parlay this week, but I'll probably be releasing that video either Wednesday night or Thursday when I wake up. Thank all of you for hanging out here on Tuesday night with your Uncle Weezy for just the tip. Check out that Patreon if you haven't already. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out on a Tuesday night with me. God bless each and every one of you. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC San Diego. Good night, everybody. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.